Hi students, this is Dr. Sharmili, Assistant Professor, Division of Agronomy, School of Agriculture Sciences in Karani Institute of Technology and Sciences. In today's class, we'll see on the title different methods of weed control. Normally, in agriculture, weeds are often our most underestimated enemies because we focus mainly on pests and diseases, but weeds are actually the causes of highest losses. In India, for example, weeds alone roughly contribute 37 to 45 percentage of total crop losses, whereas insects will is around 29 percentage and diseases 22 percentage. A single weed Amaranthus viridis can produce 11 million seeds in them, and it will remain dormant in the soil for years until they get a right moment to emerge. So weeds are not just unwanted plants, they are aggressive competitors. They rob our crops for essential resources. They take up around 45 percentage of nitrogen, which is played for the crop, 50 percentage of potassium, and also they compete heavily for water, sunlight, and also space. So beyond direct competition, they also serve as alternate hosts for pests and diseases. They interfere with harvesting machinery, and they release toxic allelopathic chemicals which will reduce the growth of a crop plant. So we must shift our mindset from the term weed control and which is simply killing the weeds, and we have to concentrate on weed management, which is a long term strategy to reduce weed population. So in this today's lecture, we'll explore six different methods of weed management. First one is preventive method. Preventive method is nothing but stopping weeds before entering into the field. That is using of certified seeds and physical methods and mechanical method, which is by using traditional tools and modern tillage practices, and the cultural methods of weed management which use agronomic practices like crop rotation, spacing management, and all. Biological weed management by using living organisms to control weeds, and chemical methods of weed management. Here we'll be using some selective herbicides. Herbicides are nothing but they are chemicals used to control weeds, to control weed in our crop plants. Now let us see them one by one. First one is preventive method of weed control. So preventive method, as I said, it is nothing but it will prevent the entry of weeds into a crop plant. Like we have to use certified seeds, that is seeds, so that there won't be any weed seed admixture in our crop seeds. Our field should be free from field bunds. Irrigation channel should be always free from weeds, and while introducing or bringing up any implements inside our field, we should check that the wheels or some nook and corners of the instrument should not contain seeds of weeds, and only we should use only well decomposed farmyard manure, and we have to follow fallow plowing. And next method is physical. So physical method, where there are different types of physical method like using mowers, grazing with animals, mulching to prevent weeds, hand weeding, hand mowing, burning and flaming, as you can see in this pictures. Hand weeding, burning, digging between the interspace, hand mowing, everything are some of the. Next is mechanical method of weed management. And mechanical method of weed management, we use machineries, tools for controlling weeds in our field. Like we'll use tillage implements, we'll deep plow our field once in 3 to 4 years. We, disking with the help of disc plows, harrowing, intercultural operations, and digging. And next comes cultural method of weed management. Cultural method of weed management includes various methods. For instance, crop rotation. Crop rotation, that is, instead of growing crops of same family, same height, same root depth, we should go for alternate crops of different family, different root depth, which is highly beneficial not only by controlling weeds but also the maintaining the soil fertility, managing proper planting method, spacing of the crop, maintaining proper population, placement of fertilizers instead of broadcasting the fertilizers, irrigation method instead of flooding the field wherever it is possible. We can go for drip irrigation, sprinkler irrigations, and summer plowing not only control weeds but also it will help us to reduce in pest stale seedbed method preparation, intercropping, the growing of smaller crops, summer tillage, and mulching and soil solarization are some of the important methods of cultural weed management. And finally comes the biological method of weed management. Biological method of weed management, as I said, small insects, pathogens, or any other competitive plants can be grown or used for controlling vegetation of the weeds, and also bioherbicides can be grown. And the benefits of using this biological method of weed control, it is relatively very cheap when compared to buying chemicals, and very importantly it is very long lasting, and it is very less harmful for the environment because it target only on the weeds alone. And some in aquatic regions, some fishes and snails can also be used to control the aquatic weeds, and these are some of the important weeds which can be controlled with the help of in biological method like water hyacinth, salvinia, parthenium, and prickly pears. And this salvinia molesta can be controlled with this Cytobacter salviniae, and parthenium can be controlled with Zygogramma bicolorata. And when you see the chemical method of weed management, chemical method of weed management is nothing but use of chemicals, which we call as herbicides to control weeds. And while doing chemical management, it is very important to have knowledge on whether which herbicide we are using, selecting or non-selective, contact or herbicide or systemic or when you see the advantages of using this chemical method of weed management, weeds can be controlled even before its emergence by spraying pre-emergence herbicide. And also this method of weed management, that is chemical method of weed management, is highly economical because while if you are using labors for weed management, the cost of cultivation will increase. So when you see cost wise, economical wise, this chemical method of weed management is highly advantageous. And very importantly, some of the weeds like perennial weeds, parasitic weeds, mimicry weeds, very uncontrollable weeds can also be controlled with the help of this chemical method of weed management, which is very less possible with other methods of weed management. Like advantage, we also have various disadvantages in this chemical method of weed management. And because while selecting herbicide for spraying in our crop, we should need a strong technical knowledge on how to use, when to use, what to use, how much to use, because overdosing or underdosing, whatever, if it is this not properly done, it will create a very big problem in our cropland. Also, if while spraying herbicides, if it gets drifted to neighboring crops or neighboring field, it will create a very big chaos there, by affecting the neighboring crops there. And the use of this herbicide definitely causes lot of environmental pollution. So what will be the solution here? The only solution for the effective method of weed management, which will be beneficial, is integrated weed management. Integrated weed management is nothing but, as the name indicates, we will be integrating all the different methods of weed management like chemical method, physical method, biological method, other cultural methods, everything together. If we integrate everything and do it together, we call it as integrated method of weed management. When you see the advantages of integrated weed management, it will shift the crop weed competition in favor to a crop, and also it will prevent weed shift from towards perennial nature. And in some places, if we go for spraying same herbicide to the crop again and again, the weeds, this crops or weeds, they will develop resistance against that herbicide. So this problem of developing resistance can be controlled if we go for integrated method of weed management. And since there will be no residue in the soil because of depending on chemical alone, pollution pollution will be controlled, which will in turn increase the net return of the farm income of the farmers, and it is very highly suitable in places with high cropping intensity. So, in conclusion, to wrap up my session, that we have to remember that effective method of weed management isn't just about killing what we see today. It should be a long-term strategy, because weeds are so adaptive that so that relying just on one method, like either physical or chemical or biological or mechanical, whatever it is, it will eventually fail. So the key is integrated weed management, combining all these preventive methods, cultural methods, biological, physical, whatever, all this together, so that it will protect our soil, it will prevent weed infestation, and it will prevent the environment for a long-term basis. So by staying one step ahead of the weed seed bank, we ensure a crop will thrive and a farming stays sustainable for our future generation. Thank you.